Welcome to Conceive the podcast, your resource for all things fertility, women's health and pregnancy, with your hosts, Jaya, Chinese medicine practitioner and Director of Natural Fertility Geelong, and me, Libby Morgan, Practice Manager and Jaya's friend. Today we're going to be chatting about the basics of the menstrual cycle. So that's the different phases, how to identify ovulation, and also the important part, when you should be trying to conceive.
Yes, I think knowing when you ovulate is important and a really great first step when trying to conceive, because you can have regular cycles and not ovulate, or ovulate at different times from cycle to cycle.
Okay, so can you first break down then the menstrual cycle and those different phases?
Yes, so the menstrual cycle can be quite complex. There's a lot going on hormonally. These are the things you need to know. Let's start with the follicular phase. That's the time between your period and ovulation. And if we're basing this on a 28-day cycle, the follicular phase measures from the first day of your period until the beginning of ovulation, roughly 14 days. So when the previous menstrual cycle is complete and you get your period, levels of estrogen and progesterone will decrease and the endometrial lining will shed, which will result in a bleed. And this chain of events results in your brain talking to your ovaries to release certain hormones like estrogen and follicle-stimulating hormone, and these hormones will influence your lining to get thicker and also the selection of a dominant follicle that will be the egg that's released at ovulation.
Okay.
It's funny because a lot of people will say their hormones are out of balance or I need to balance my hormones, and I know what they're saying is something doesn't feel right. We really want your hormones to have peaks. We really want some hormones to peak up high to then stimulate the next part of the cycle as well.
Yeah.
The next part is ovulation, and that's when the egg's released. So once the egg's released, there's a window of about 12 to 24 hours for the egg to be fertilized. And ovulation occurs about 10 to 12 hours after the LH peak, which is luteinizing hormone. Our LH surge is one of the most reliable indicators that ovulation is coming. Interesting fact though, ovulation occurs mostly in the morning in spring and mostly in the evening during autumn and winter.
Wow, that's so weird.
Isn't it? And studies have also concluded that ovulation occurs most frequently from the right side. I think it was only 55%, but I still found it really interesting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think they ovulate on alternate sides each month, but that's not always true. It is true if you're younger, but after 30 years of age, ovulation occurs more frequently from one side, and that's often the right side. Maybe your body thinks that you're most fertile from the right side. Next phase is the luteal phase, and that's the stage between ovulation and either potential pregnancy or period. And here we see a surge in progesterone. A few days after ovulation, the corpus luteum is formed. Its purpose is to produce progesterone and to keep the uterus favourable for a pregnancy. And if there's no fertilised egg, it will just break down and result in a period. So progesterone is just such an important hormone. It helps to make your uterus bigger. It helps to thicken your lining even more. It also helps your uterus stay supplied with oxygen and blood so that that egg can develop into a healthy baby. And if there is a pregnancy, the presence of HCG will rescue the corpus luteum from breaking down to produce progesterone for 12 weeks until the placenta takes over. So the body's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. So then how do we identify ovulation? So especially if our cycle isn't the standard 28 days?
Or even if it is and we're not really sure.
Okay.
A good place to start is with basal body temperature, and that's also known as BBT. That is done by taking your temperature each morning, put the thermometer under your tongue, and it's ideally done at the same time before you get out of bed. You can record these temps on either a paper chart or most people are doing it in an app these days. We like using Fertility Friend because we look at charts a lot and it's really easy to understand, but lots of apps will have a function where you can add in your temperatures and it will chart it for you.
And Fertility Friend's also a free one.
Good point. And we can identify ovulation by seeing a rise in temperature that is sustained for 3 days. We want the chart to be biphasic, and what I mean by that is a clear distinction between the follicular phase temps and the luteal phase temps, and the luteal phase temps will be higher than the follicular phase temps. We're also looking at ovulation retrospectively. Knowing your cycles is important, or people will track their temperatures for a few months to really know their fertile window. It's a really good way to find out trends in your cycle.
Okay.
Another thing to remember is that you need to have at least 3 to 4 hours solid sleep before you take your temperature. If you're sick, you've had bad sleep, or you've had too many wines the night before, you'll most likely get an inaccurate reading.
And what about for shift workers?
Yeah, they can still do it. They just need to take their temperature after their afternoon sleep.
Is there a certain I do know this. There's a certain sort of thermometer that you need because we do
Yes.
stock them at the clinic.
We
so I
stock
do
them
know
in
that.
the clinic now because people have so much trouble finding them. But you need a thermometer that goes to 2 decimal places. The chemists will stock them. I think Chemist Warehouse have a lot of them.
I'm fairly sure they do, yeah.
And they'll often say that they're for tracking ovulation. You can't use your normal thermometers that are in the house. So if they're ones that you use on your temple or you're using under your arm, they're not going to work.
Okay.
Another great way to track your fertile window and potential ovulation is cervical mucus. That's that egg white jelly consistency. And when you see that, that's a good time to start trying because it's a really good sign that ovulation is going to happen soon. Cervical mucus actually creates a safe passage for the sperm through the vagina. So it's a little bit more alkaline like sperm, whereas the vagina is a little bit more acidic. A study from 2002 actually showed that 97.8% of peak day cervical mucus fell within 4 days of estimated day of ovulation. I think it's pretty accurate. And it's a good way to track your fertile window if you're not keen on doing temperatures or other things like that.
And what about ovulation test kits? I've seen those in the supermarket.
Yeah, a lot of people use those and they can be really good and can be accurate for some. I will say though, if you have anything going on like polycystic ovaries, it will be inaccurate as it will show positives continually throughout the cycle. So someone with polycystic ovaries will have continual LH surges because their body's trying to ovulate and not getting there.
Yeah.
It really doesn't work for some people and it does work for some.
Yeah.
Other options are a day 21 progesterone test. It's called day 21 because that's when you do it if you have a 28-day cycle. But really, you just need to do it a week after ovulation. So if you know when you're ovulating, you can do it a week later. Or if you have a really irregular cycle, you can do it multiple times in the cycle.
Okay.
And most people will do that when they're already working with a doctor.
Yeah.
A really definitive way to confirm ovulation is via ultrasound. On an ultrasound, a sonographer will be able to see if you're about to ovulate or if you have ovulated and from what side. Usually you'll be having ultrasounds if you're already working with a specialist, or you might catch it randomly on a scan if you're just going to check something.
Yeah.
It's probably worth mentioning some of the other tracking devices like Temp Drop. Have you heard about that?
No.
So that's a wearable sensor that you put on your arm at night. I haven't tried it, but I've heard it's quite comfortable and it basically tracks all of your information and then you download it onto an app on your phone in the morning and then it will tell you when you're ovulating or when you have ovulated. It's a bit more expensive than a BBT thermometer, but it would be handy in the sense that you don't have to wake up at the same time every day.
Yeah, it sounds really convenient.
So I guess it's finding what works for you.
Yeah.
And the other device as well is called Mirror, which is an at-home dipstick that you can use to track your hormones. What I didn't like was that it wasn't able to track progesterone, so it didn't give us all of that luteal phase information. But I think now you can buy it as an add-on. It's a way more expensive option though, and you have to continually purchase the dipsticks, so it's an ongoing cost.
So you're testing each day your hormones, so you're doing a urine sample each day?
Yeah. And like I said before, it's just finding what works for you because I've had people that really couldn't do the temperatures but really prefer to do urine dipsticks or they prefer to do blood tests every day. And for someone else, that's a nightmare.
There'd be a lot of people that wouldn't be up for that.
Yeah.
So we know when we're ovulating from the tracking, the different methods. When should we be having sex to try and conceive?
Day of ovulation and the 5 days beforehand. So we often talk about a fertile week. I say a week because sperm can live inside a woman's reproductive system for up to 5 days. The more you can try in that week, the better. Having said that, if you're trying every second day, then that's still enough.
Okay.
And we often think we need a single sperm, but in reality, we need lots of sperm at the egg to help fertilize it.
Oh, really? Why's that?
So normal sperm cells will have a cap-like covering and it has this enzyme inside of it that will break down the outer membrane of the egg cell. So lots of sperm at the egg helping to break down to create a space where sperm can go in and fertilize the egg.
That's cool.
So they need their mates there.
Yeah.
Oh, and also another thing to remember is that your app doesn't know when you're ovulating. You can ovulate anywhere within your cycle and your app will be assuming that you ovulate 2 weeks before your period. But if you're not inputting details like your cervical mucus or your temperatures, it's probably not very accurate.
Yeah.
And often we can see that it's a timing issue, so eliminating that early on can be really helpful. We see that a lot in the clinic.
But just people have got the wrong
they're
info.
just trying at the right times. And I kind of love it because it's such an easy fix and they're really happy really quickly.
Yeah.
but it's something you can be looking at yourself.
Okay. And there's some pretty cheap options on how to do it.
Yeah.
Great.
So I think that covers everything. I hope it's helpful.
Yeah, that was a great overview of the basics. We'll see you next time. Bye, Jaya.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend, subscribe where you listen, or head to Apple to rate and review. You will find the show notes on our website, conceivethepodcast.com.au, and can follow us on Instagram at conceive_podcast, where you can also leave questions for future episodes.